So what we're going to do here today is talk about the punch list process, and the tools that we are going to be talking about specifically are Proliance and Prolog Mobile. Okay. Now, this is a newer process, and so, sorry, that screen is, hold on just one second. Okay, so sorry about that. So we are going to be talking about Prolog Mobile and Proliance. And so because punch list, there wasn't a real formal or an easy way to get punch list items into Proliance initially. There are a few other options and workarounds that people have used. They've used different apps or different programs like Bluebeam to assist with their punch list. So I am going to go through the best practice that we are suggesting. If you want to talk to me offline about using Bluebeam instead, or using the Proliance import option, we can have that discussion offline. So you may have heard those or know of other teams that are using those two tools. But we are not going to focus on those today. We are only going to talk about the best practice moving forward, which is Prolog Mobile in combination with Proliance. Okay? All right. So you'll see here on my screen, I am showing an iPad. And so for those of you who have Prolog Mobile up and running, and you're a part of a project, feel free to log in, and you can kind of work alongside me if you'd like. You should have access to the Prolog Mobile Test Project, so you can log in there and follow along or play along. I know there's quite a few new employees on the call, and so if you are working on a project where your team is using Prolog Mobile, just let me know and I will help get you set up. Okay. All right, so we're going to start here in Prolog Mobile. We'll talk about creating punch list items, how you are able to update them and track the progress of them, and then we'll talk about how that integrates to Proliance and as a place where you can pull that information down and report off of it. Okay. So here you're seeing my iPad, and I am looking at Prolog Mobile. And so for those of you who don't know much about Prolog Mobile or haven't been a part of the training, I'm not going to do an introduction to it. That is held in a different class. This is just specific to the punch list process. Okay. So in this example, what I'm going to do is we're going to first just take a look at what a team here in Minneapolis has done with punch list. And so we're going to take a look at the Paragon project. Now you'll see here that they have almost 600 punch list items. You'll see number 595 up here. They have over 600 punch list items that they have entered for their project. Okay? And this is just simply a list of all of them. Now if you wanted to search by text or something like that, in the search box you're able to come in here, and let's say I want to type in 300. If I know that maybe I'm in room 300. Now my list is going to automatically filter down to show me only the rooms, room 300 punch list items. I could also type something in like phone and data, and I would see the one punch list item that pertains to this phone and data. Okay? So now if I go into one of these, we're going to look at what that punch list document looks like. So here you'll see kind of all the different fields that the Paragon team entered when they were doing this punch list item. All right. That's just a way to look at that. Now, a more visually appealing way to look at all of your punch list items would be to click on Plan View along the bottom. And here you'll start to see the pins are forming. Now each one of these pins represents a punch list item. So let me first just jump up here to the plan that we're looking at. So if I go and I click on A2-4, I am on A2-4, which is building 400. Now, Paragon is an outlet mall, so there's a bunch of different buildings that are all one level. Your project may be one building with multiple levels. So instead, you would have your floor plans for level 1, level 2, level 3, etc., maybe a site plan, and then you'll see they also have some elevation plans here. And so what this allows this team to do is they can visually place punch list items. Now, they can visually place other things as well, like photos and QA/QC things, but in this example, this is just punch. So if I go to building 400, like what we were on, I can now just take my fingers, place them on the screen, and begin to zoom in. Now I'm able to kind of see more clearly where these punch list items are located. And you'll see over here on the left that my screen, my options here are changing. You'll see I have punch list items I'm showing that are in this area versus outside of the area. So if I knew I was going to be in this restroom area today, I could zoom in and try and find or review these punch list items here. Okay. I can also take this left-hand side screen and I can move it over so that I can see everything if I wanted to. Now if I pull it back over, I'll just point out that if I really focus this in and narrowed it down, if I wanted to, I also have options to look at things that are outside of my area. So I still have all the punch list items that are here on this plan, but if I only want to focus on the ones that are in my area that I've zoomed into, I can reference these 8 instead of all of them. Now you'll also see that this pinned is toggled on. If I want to toggle it off, what that is going to do is show me all of the punch list items that are not pinned. Okay? So you can pin punch list items or you don't have to pin them. But either way, there's a way to pin them in the future if you didn't pin them originally. And we'll kind of talk about that when we create a new one. But you can see here that from this view, I'm able to see every punch list item, whether it's pinned, not pinned, or whether it's on this plan or not. Okay? All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump to my portfolio, and I'm going to go into the Prolog Mobile Test Project instead. All right. You'll see here that I'm going to select punch list. And here in my test project, which is where you can go in and kind of follow along, is I have all of my punch list items here listed. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, if you don't see any punch list items here, what you could do instead is click on this sync button. And if you wanted to very quickly download them, you can toggle the file library off, toggle the download data on. And what this will allow you to do is it will download all of the punch list items in addition to some other items for you. But it won't worry about your drawings or submittals or uploading any new information. So if you want to sync quick to pull those down, you certainly can. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to go to my list view, and again, these are all of my punch list items here. If I click on Plan View along the bottom, it's going to show me the different plans that I have. So again, I'll click on this top option and pick what I want. You'll see that this building is large, so I have broken out the floor plans by areas. So area A, B, and C in lieu of just the whole first floor. Okay. So now we're going to go about creating a new punch list item. Now you can create a punch list item from this plan view the same way you could create it by being in the list view. The only difference is that you will be prompted to pin the punch list item if you're in this plan view. This means that you want to show where this item is taking place. We're in the list view, you're simply just adding punch list items. All right, so we're going to start with in the plan view. And to create a punch list item, you're going to click on this Add button. Okay. Now you have an option here to create a new one, or you can create a new one first by having the camera on your iPad be activated. And so for punch list, it makes sense that maybe I would want to take a picture of my of the issue it is or the item that I want to document here. So I'm going to go ahead and click From Camera. And the camera on my iPad is automatically going to activate. So let's say I take a picture of this lamp. You'll notice I could have also taken a video if I wanted to. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Use Photo. And now I'm being prompted to place my pin. So where am I in this building? And I'll come in here to this water entrance room. And all I did was simply tapped my finger on the screen, and I'm going to say pin here. Okay. Now a fresh punch list document is in front of me. And so you'll see that there are quite a few fields here for you to fill out information. One note is that the field in red or in pink, whatever it looks like on your screen, is the only one that's required. So while there are a lot of fields for you to fill out, you only need to fill out one. Okay? And that's the item description. We have to know what it is that is wrong with the lamp that I took a picture of. Now the great thing about this is there's a few ways to make this entry easy and fast. If I tap my finger in the item description field, my keyboard will open. And if I want to, I can begin to type something in. Type in punch list. Okay? Now you'll see if I spell something incorrectly, the spell check is now active. And so I can decide to change what I want that to, how I want that to look. Now what I can also do is I can click on this Add Typical Condition. This is going to produce a list of typical conditions for punch list. So if I wanted to type in something like interior maybe, there's nothing there. What if I did, I usually always do something in landscaping, so I'll do chain link fence. Okay. Now you'll see because I selected that, I now have all these options that are common options that I could choose then for what would be wrong with this chain link fence. Okay. That way I don't need to type in that information, and if I'm going to select this multiple times, I'm able to kind of keep the same spelling and convention of how that's entered. Okay. I can also add multiple ones, so I could click all of these if I wanted to. All right. Now the other thing you can do is if you tap on this and the keyboard is open, is you can click on the microphone button. Now most of your iPads should, I would assume, would have this, but if you don't have the microphone button, it's simply because your iPad wasn't built to have this functionality. It has nothing to do with the version of iOS 7 you're on, or iOS, or the Prolog version. It's based on the hardware of your iPad. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on the microphone and I'm just going to speak into it and show you what it'll do. Testing the microphone. Okay. So if you're in a quiet area, there's not a lot of background noise. Obviously, where I'm doing this training, it's fairly quiet. So it was able to translate exactly what I spoke into my iPad with. If it's a little bit louder on your job site, then maybe the microphone won't necessarily work for you. Okay. Now, if you want to get rid of the keyboard, you could click on over in the bottom right this keyboard button, and that will drop the keyboard down. All right, so it looks like we got a chat in here really quick. So thanks for sending that over. It seems like the my screen is lagging behind several seconds. So you're not seeing what I'm talking about until we move on to the next screen. So I think that's probably just a connection issue and a WebEx issue. So I apologize if you guys are experiencing a delay. When I am doing it on my end, it seems to be keeping up with me. So I guess I will pause as I transition from field to field, if that helps. Okay, thanks for that. Okay, so this item description here, I quickly type in or speak into my iPad and it allows me to translate or enter what the punch list item information is. You'll see that because I'm logged into Prolog Mobile, it already knows and it has entered me as the person who's reporting this punch list item. Now these 5 fields up top are location fields. And so the reason we have these location fields is because when this is saved and it integrates to Proliance, we need that information to be stored in Proliance for reporting purposes. So it's not required that you enter this information because, like Paragon, for example, they were able to get all their subcontractors into Prolog Mobile, and their subcontractors manage their outstanding punch list items in Prolog Mobile. However, some of the other projects that we've worked on or that have been using the punch list piece, they have not gotten their subs involved. And so when they get that report out of Proliance, they need to have this location information. Otherwise, they would just have a list of items and no way to see where they're located. So I have this modeled after Paragon. So in my building, I would say building 400. Most of your projects would likely not have a building because your project in Proliance will be set up maybe per building or something like that. So that could be left blank. The floor, so let's say I do B2, the room. Now there's a lot of rooms here, so if I wanted to, I can instead click on the search and I can just begin to type in to narrow down my rooms. Now, these 3 fields then are project specific. So you're able to update them. You and your PA are able to update them based on your door schedule. So as soon as your room numbers are established, you'd be able to prep Proliance and Prolog Mobile to have the necessary room numbers and floors and things like that set up. See, I'm going to clear that out. Okay. Now for the direction, this is just to kind of help locate where the item is. If I'm in room 200, 200 may be huge. And if I have just kind of a small incident there, it may be tough for my subcontractor to know where to get or to find that. So I could say it's along the north wall. We've also added ceiling and floors. You could say, you know, ceiling tile, floor tile, you know, whatever. But it will just help when finding that issue. And then punch list phase allows you to document your more formal punch list items, but it also allows you to do deficiency type items. And we've categorized them as Ryan pre-punch. Some people may call it nonconformance. Others would call it deficiency. Whatever your term for it is, this would be maybe your preemptive punch list or your less formal punch. Now you can make this project specific as well and add to it. So an example of another project that's been doing this is they did a walkthrough of an existing building that they're going to renovate. And so they did punch list items essentially for all the existing windows, knowing that they're going to need to be replaced. But what they're able to do then is categorize that as the window survey, so that moving forward, when they begin to do their real punch, they can filter out all of the initial window survey items that they included. Right? So I'll call this my Ryan pre-punch. Now, if you know the subcontractor that's responsible for fixing this, you can enter their information in here. If you don't know who it is, then you can just leave it blank. So if, and then it can always be added later on. So if a superintendent or your PA is out there helping you with your punch list, they may not know who it's going to be assigned to, but then the PM afterwards could come in and update all the responsible party information. So here I'm going to pick Bradley, let's say. Okay. Now, if I want to, I can place a due date. You'll see that the date reported auto-populated to today's date. So I'm just going to tap in that field, and I'm going to change the due date. Okay. And then when I click this checkbox here, that just is going to save it. This eraser icon is going to clear it, and then this X button is just going to close out my selection. So I'm going to click the checkbox here. Now what I can do, if I'm done with this, is I can click the checkbox in the top left and just be done with my punch list and move on. I could also click this copy button. When I copy it, let's say I'm in the same room and I'm doing something very similar. Maybe it's the same responsible party who would be doing the next punch list item. I can click copy, and it will copy most of the information that I have in here already. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and click the copy button. Now it's going to ask me if I want to save it. And here, I'm going to back out really quick here. The last thing that I forgot to touch on here is this files icon. You'll see that it has a parentheses 1 next to it. It has that photo that I took of the lamp. All right. Now if I want to change this name, I can. I can just click on it, back out, and say lamp in room 300. If I want to annotate on this photo, I can do that as well. So by clicking on this annotate button, what this allows me to do then is I can add some text, I can add some circles, I can draw on it and do whatever. So in the bottom left, I have this magnifying glass, and this is where I can select to draw a line. Let's say I want to change that to purple. I can then draw an arrow indicating where that issue is. I can also click back on here and I can type something in if I wanted to. Place my finger on the screen and begin to type. Okay, fix lamp. Now I can do large text by selecting my font here, medium or small. Okay? So you may not find that it's important to annotate every single photo that you take, but just know that it's there if you want to call out something specific. And you can annotate any photo that you take. It doesn't need, it's not just for punch list items. So now that I'm done revising my photo, I'm going to click the checkbox here to save my changes. And I'm going to click the back button. All right. And so now I see here, here's my location information. And I'm going to go back to the General tab just so I can review everything one last time. And I'm going to click the copy button. Now it's going to ask me if I want to save it. I say yes. And then what happens is it copies the information. It copies all of my location stuff, which is great. Who's responsible, who's entering it. And now obviously it's a new item, so I have to re-enter what that item description is. And I'll just say item. Okay. Now if I want to enter a due date, I can, or I can leave it blank. Now you'll see here for files, that same file didn't copy over, which makes sense. So if I want to take a new photo, I can. And to do that, I click on the files icon. And now I'm just going to click on this plus button. This is going to ask me if I want to take a photo. I want to pick one from my photo albums. Or I can select a drawing or a submittal that's come over from Proliance. So I'll just show you what this media from device looks like. What it does is it brings me to my album on my iPad, and I can find the photo that I've taken and bring it in. So let's say I took this photo yesterday, but I wasn't doing punch list. Now I'm here where I want to document that. If I've already taken the photo, I don't need to take it again. I can simply just pull it in because it was on my iPad. If I want to save or change the name, I can. And if I want to annotate on it, I can click on this pencil icon. I'm happy with what it looks like, so I'm going to click the back button. I'm going to click on the General tab, and here I'm just going to type in something, green glass. Okay. Now that I'm done, I don't want to copy this or copy to make a new one. I'm just going to click the checkbox, and it'll save. Okay. All right, so I'm going to jump back to my portfolio then. Let's go into Prolog Mobile. And I'm still in Punchlist, so let me go all the way to the bottom here. This is where all of the new Punchlist items are going to reside. You'll see they don't have a number associated with them yet because I haven't saved or synced anything. But you'll see here the location information, the description, and then you'll see here that it says the sync status is pending upload. This just means that I have not synced this and it hasn't gone to Proliance yet. Okay. Now one thing you can do up here where it says Punchlist All is you can actually change your filters. So I could come in here and I could say which ones are pending upload. If I wanted to see how many I've done that day, I would be able to come in here and see, yep, I have 2 that I would like to sync over that I haven't synced yet today. I can tap on pending upload again, and instead I could come down here and say, I want to see how many punch list items we have, our formal punch list, right, versus our informal punch list. Okay? Now when your subcontractors are introduced to Prolog Mobile and they're in here, they would only be able to see their company records. So they wouldn't see all 600 items like Paragon has. They would only see the items that have been assigned to them. All right. So the filtering components here for the punch list is pretty powerful, and that just allows you to really filter down your list and show you what it is that you want to see. Now if I come back here to Plan View, let me X that out and go to Plan View. Looks like my screen is turned just a little bit here. Okay. Kind of move that back. You can see that by clicking on the Ryan Pre-Punch option, you can also change that to say, I want to see just my pending upload ones. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, I got to try and get out of this, is I'm going to click on the sync button, and we are going to upload these 2 punch list items. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle off the download. I want to expedite this sync, so I don't want to download any of the new stuff that's maybe been added by some of my other teammates. I just want to, I'll do that later. I also don't want to download any of the drawings or submittals, because maybe I know there's a new bulletin that came out. It might take forever for it to download, and I just want this to be a quick and easy sync. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toggle on the upload button. All this is going to do then is it's for my project only, this Prolog Mobile Test Project, it's only going to upload any new documents that I've done. So that will make the sync fairly quick. And now I'm just going to click the sync button. Now you'll see here it's telling me it's found 2 punch list records. It's sending the first one. And then you'll see here that it's sending the that first one because here's my PNG file or the photo that I took. So depending on the size of the photos, how many you've taken, and the content that's involved, this could take a minute or 2. All right. So we're going to jump to Proliance while this is syncing, but we will check back on it to make sure that that sync has completed. Okay, so I'm just going to move this over to a different screen, and we're going to jump into Proliance. Okay, I'm going to check my email here quick. I don't see any questions yet. Feel free to email them to me if you'd like. Otherwise, feel free to email them to me if you'd like. Otherwise, use the chat function. Okay, so let's jump into Proliance. Okay. And here you'll see that I've already jumped in to the Paragon project. And how I got to the punch list register was I clicked on File Management, Punch List. Here's the list of all of the punch list items. And you'll see here there's a few different views. If you wanted to change the view, you could. So you could change your view to show different information. So if you wanted to show items that are not closed, so only your open items, you can do that here. I'm in the, I think, responsible company one. So this is going to tell me the item, the responsible party, and then all of the location information that I entered. So all I'm going to do here in Proliance is I'm just going to show you what this looks like. But there's not going to be a lot of updating that you need to do here in Proliance. So here you'll see the item description, the comments that were entered, who entered it, who's responsible for fixing it, and then all of the location information. Now on the resolution tab is where any of the progress dates are located. Okay. All right. So all I really want to do here is I want to export this report. I want to take all 1,000 of these items, place and get them into an Excel file. Okay. And so all I did that very quickly, is I just clicked the export button. So that exported this into an Excel file. Let me just make this page large. Okay. Now you'll see here that I need to do a little bit of cleaning up. I'm going to zoom in my items here. I'm going to make my columns the appropriate size just really quickly here without thinking about it too much. I'll zoom back in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a filter across my column headers. Now what I can do with this report is I can filter it by building. I can then filter it by subcontractor. I can send this to Olympic companies and say, here are your 12 items for building 300. So this is a really powerful way to be able to send information over to your subcontractors. Okay. It also here has the due date. Now, if you want to make your own view, you can do that as well in Proliance. So you can set up your own view that has the information that you want to show, so that when you send this off to people, it communicates what you want. So in Proliance, there's not hardly any updating or creating that needs to happen. What Prolog Mobile does really great is it just allows you to quickly and effectively get your punch list items into Prolog Mobile, or I'm sorry, into Proliance. And then Proliance is used to simply just store the information and save it as project record, and then you can report off of it. Okay, so sorry about that. I had a little bit of an issue here with the RWNet. It went down on me. So I'm going to jump in and resync my Prolog Mobile so we can get those punch list items over. So, and then Air Server dropped as well because of my RWNet that closed on me. So give me just 1 second to relog in, and then we'll make sure that this sync goes through. Now, the beauty of using Prolog Mobile in lieu of PlanGrid or Bluebeam or some of those other tools or apps that have really great punch list components is that those punch list items don't get into Proliance. When they're in Proliance, like when you do it from Prolog Mobile, it's very, it saves it to the project, so you always have it, and it's very easy to report off of. And so, so that's just kind of the selling point then to Prolog Mobile, is that these items will now always be a part of your project record. They're not dumped into something like a plan grid punch list that was then just saved as a hard copy and distributed that way. This way we can always track the information, and we can always track the progress of it. Okay. All right, so that is how you quickly get all your punch list items out of Proliance, and you can report off of it that way. All right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to jump back into Prolog Mobile, assuming I can get my air server up and running again. Okay. All right. And what I want to do is show you how your subcontractors can be involved and how you can take this from being just a easy way to get your documents into your punch list documents into Prolog Mobile and Proliance, and into now how your subcontractors can be involved in updating that information. So if you get your subcontractors involved, they would be able to come in here and view just their punch list items, either on the list view or on the plan view. Then what you could have them do is they could come in and they could edit the date field to say that they've completed this item. So let's go back into my water entrance one that I had. So I just tapped on the pin and I opened it up. And here we can see that information. Now let's say Bradley Construction came out and they fixed this issue. When a subcontractor logs in, all they have the ability to do is enter comments, enter a correction made date, and take a photo. So if they wanted to document the item after they had fixed it, they could do that. But likely they're just going to come in here to correction made and say, I fixed it on this day. And when they save it, it's going to save to Proliance as well. So that progress date fields on that second page in Proliance will always be updated. But now what this lets you do in your field team is you now are able to see all the items that have been fixed by your subcontractors. All right? Then what you can do is you can come into it, and we have a Ryan reinspect date. So you may have come in and said, yep, it's fixed, it's good to go, and we're ready. So that's now how we can track the progress of these punch list items. Now, if you are doing a more formal punch list and you want your owner or your architect to sign off on that, you can also get them involved, which is what Paragon did. And in order to sign off on this, they came, or they had their architects log into Prolog Mobile, and as they walked the site or the building, they would click on this inspect button. The architect would click accept or reject, and if it's accepted, the inspected by is going to auto-populate with their name, and the sign-off date is going to auto-populate with today's date. So now we've entered the punch list item, we've made its correction, validated it was fixed, and now we've signed off on it and closed it. And so when that takes place, then you can just click the Save button and be done with it. Okay? So that's then how we're able to track the progress of the punch list items, and it's no longer just a print this out on your, print this report out, place it on the door in front of your building or in front of each one of the rooms that has the punch list items on it and have them sign off on it. Now you could still do it that way. Your subs could still come and initial when they've fixed those items, and then your make sure that all those items are fixed. But you now have the capabilities to be able to allow your subs to do that more interactively with having an iPad, taking photos, and documenting the changes that they made. And then it allows you to go in and check to see which ones you still have to review. Okay? So that is all that I have for the punch list training. We've talked about creating it, modifying it, seeing it integrate to Proliance. And so depending on how long this thing takes, it'd be nice if I could show you what it looks like in Proliance, but it should only take a few minutes. I realize, though, that we're at the end of our training. So I will open up the call so that if we want to have a Q&A session, that's fine. For those of you that need to jump off, thank you for attending. We will post this video in case you need to reference it. And I think that's it. For those of you who want to stay on and ask some questions, I will unmute everyone. So thanks again for being a part of the Punchlist training. All right, I'm going to unmute all of you now. All right, so do we have any questions? All right, any questions, anyone?
Yeah.
All right, I'll stay on for another minute if there's any questions. For those of you who are still on, you'll see my Prolog screen that those two punch list items had made it through. All right. If you have any questions, you can just talk to me offline if you want. If you need to get your project set up in Prolog Mobile, you can just let me and your PA know. All right. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.